The film opens in a prison in Chechnya, where some men are holding a guy named Luke in front of a camera, threatening they will kill him if a member of their organization is not released from prison. After giving the government 45 minutes before the execution takes place on live television, Luke is taken to his cell. In a cell next to his, there are more hostages, a man named Shu and 2 women. When the time is up, the hostages are all taken and they are made to kneel in front of the camera, waiting to be executed. Another man, Kimbrel, points his gun at Luke. The 2 of them have some prolonged eye contact until the camera explodes, filling the room with smoke. Shu breaks free and attacks his captors, while Luke and the women run away. Shu follows them soon, and he along with Luke have to fight more bad guys. Meanwhile, Kimbrel and his guys are looking for the hostages, but something seems to be off with him. The hostages make it to a truck and they are ready to go, but Luke mentions that Kimbrel has the keys. When Kimbrel arrives, Shu scolds him for being 40 seconds late. He starts the truck and drives away while the terrorists shoot after them. While they manage to drive away, they soon realize that the woman they were supposed to save has been hit. She is dead. Luke snaps at Kimbrel for ruining the mission, but the latter says he had an opportunity to blow up the storage room where the terrorists were keeping their weapons, so he took it. Shu does not like what he hears, but Kimbrel insists he did not do anything wrong. He had prepared an algorithm about how the operation would unfold, and he did everything according to it. When the team returns back to the company they belong to, Breslin Security, Kimbrel is called by the boss in his office. The boss, Ray Breslin, fires him. Losing somebody is unacceptable. Kimbrel tries to defend himself, but Ray will not hear any of it. He tells Kimbrel that he should have trusted his team instead of his algorithm and sends him off. 1 year later, a man named Yu Sheng is preparing an important presentation about his latest patent, which is a revolutionary technology of communication. His sister, Qin, has called Shu because she needs a bodyguard for her brother. Shu is their cousin, and Qin wants to hire him as a bodyguard for a bachelor party in Bangkok, which Yu Sheng is going to attend. Soon, Yu Sheng and Shu attend the party, and the former gets wasted. While Shu tries to pick him up, he notices that they are being surrounded by a bunch of men wearing masks. Shu fights them off and demonstrates his top-level martial arts skills. However, he is soon tased and falls on the ground unconscious. When he wakes up, a robotic voice welcomes him to a prison called Hades. In a few seconds, the voice informs him that he has to fight. Another prisoner is let out of his container and he attacks Shu. Although Shu is hit and he does not have enough time to take all of that in, he starts fighting and knocks the other inmate out. After he wins, the voice announces that Shu has earned 2 hours in the sanctuary. A cage with screens lowers in the middle of the yard and Shu walks into it. Later, he is taken to his normal cell and surprisingly sees Kimbrel entering his own cell nearby. In his cell, Shu tries to remember some of the principles that Ray has taught him about escaping prisons, such as exploring the outline of the prison, figuring out the daily schedule, and working with a team on the inside or outside. His train of thought is interrupted when he is offered his meal. Shu proceeds to grab it, but right then he gets electrocuted. He wakes up a bit later in a dark room and is met by the prison's warden, Faust. Faust calls himself the Zookeeper because to him, this prison is a zoo and all the inmates are animals. He tells Shu that Yu Sheng already revealed to him one of his patents, but he wants to have the most important one, the communication patent. He tells Shu he needs to convince his cousin to give it up, or else the 2 of them will end up dead. Later, Shu finds his cousin around the prison and asks him about his patents. Yu Sheng explains that the patent he gave Faust is useless. As for the other one, he is never going to give it to him because it is too dangerous. His communication technology has the potential to acquire access to any kind of computer, which means that if it falls in the wrong hands, things can easily go sideways. The 2 of them also meet with Kimbrel and ask him some questions about the prison. Kimbrel mentions he has lost track of time inside the prison, but his best guess is he has been in Hades for about 2 months. The problem is, he has not been able to acquire much intel about Hades. In the meantime, Breslin and his team speculate Shu might have been taken in Hades, but they don't know where they can find this prison. The only thing they know is they can start digging for info on a company called Rusho, because they are Yu Sheng's main competitors. They had tried to bribe Yu Sheng to sell them his patent in the past, but Yu Sheng rejected them, Ray makes his move and meets with an old friend named Trent DeRosa in a bar. They have set up a meeting with two other guys, one of which used to work as a consultant in various prisons. Ray believes this man knows something about Hades, but he refuses to disclose anything. Out of a sudden, the bar is attacked by a swarm of armed thugs. Even though Ray and DeRosa fight them off, one of them manages to kill the important guy before he can reveal any information to Ray. Back in the prison, Shu starts a fight on purpose so he can be taken to the infirmary. However, there is not a human doctor he could try to extract information from. The inmates are being treated by a robot. Meanwhile, Luke goes after a contact he has in Rusho, but the unknown man manages to escape by locking Luke into a garage. The next day, Shu and Yusheng are forced to participate in a team battle. The two of them have their wrists wrapped together, and they will fight two other guys who have their wrists tied the same way. Shu easily wins the match on his own in under 1 minute of time. He and Yusheng are granted some sanctuary time, where they are offered crayons, paper, and books. While Yusheng does some reading, Shu uses the resources given to try and draw the prison's outline out of his imagination. At the same time, Luke wakes up inside the prison, which means he has been apprehended. Shu gets in touch with him soon, but tells him they are probably being watched, so they need to minimize their interactions. Shu also makes a friend of the prison cook and convinces him to work together. The cook says they take him to the kitchen while he is blindfolded, but Shu instructs him to count steps so he can track his path to the kitchen. The cook follows his advice and tells Shu he counted 24 steps. However, something unexpected happens the next morning. The cook approaches Shu and lets him know that today he counted 45 steps. When it's time for a fight again, Shu puts Luke into a hold and is taken to the sanctuary. There, he breaks the point of a pencil and takes it with him outside. Carefully, he marks an X on the wall. The next day, he realizes that the X he marked has switched position. Now he knows that this prison is changing its layout every day. Later, he talks to Luke and Kimbrel about it, but he is disappointed at the fact that they don't have any help. Kimbrel says they might have somebody and points him to 3 bald guys that look like fascists. However, they are not. They are part of a hacking group called Legion. They made themselves look alike so they can seal which of them is the one called Count Zero. The warden is keeping all of them here because he does not know who Count Zero is. This hacker has acquired the plans of the prison, so if they find out who Count Zero is, they may get their hands on Hades' layout plans. Outside the prison, Trent enters a library looking for a man under the codename Bug. Soon, he finds the man and asks him about an account that belongs to another person under the codename Sparrow. Bug says he can't sell his fellows from the Insect Society, but Trent threatens to beat him up. So Bug changes his mind and gives Trent all the information he needs. In the prison, Shu approaches the 3 members of the Legion and tells them he can help them get out of here if they share what they know. Later, he works out a plan to have the Legion spend some time in the sanctuary, and Count Zero is revealed to him. On the other hand, Count Zero is soon arrested. Shu wonders how Faust knew about it, but then Kimbrel reveals that he is actually the one running the prison. He is getting his revenge on Ray's team. Outside the prison, Trent informs Breslin and his team about the account he was investigating, revealing that it belongs to Kimbrel. In Hades, Kimbrel spreads a rumor that Shu and Luke were the ones who sold Count Zero and has them fight the entire prison. While Shu is being taken back to his cell after being beaten up pretty good, he projects Ray's voice in his head, thinking about what he would advise him. Even though the prison seems to be automated, Shu saw some human guards. The prison has a plan B, but Shu can have his own plan B as well. Soon, Ray is also attacked by Kimbrel's men, and he is brought inside Hades. Kimbrel puts him in a fight against all the prisoners, and Ray receives a good beating. However, that helps him remove one of his teeth, which is actually a radio that allows him to communicate with his team, Abigail and Hush, outside the prison. Little by little, the team starts forming a plan. Yusheng pretends he will gradually give Faust the pieces of his patent, while Shu works with some other prisoners to smuggle some stuff inside Hades. Shu gives those pieces to Yusheng, who is smart enough to create a simple laser device. Shu uses that laser on one of the prison's surfaces in order to see how it reflects from one wall to another. The next day, Hush locates the prison through Ray's radio tooth. After notifying Trent about it, He communicates with Ray and tells him he has found a maintenance door in the main yard. Hush can hack into the system, but only for 3 minutes, which luckily will be enough for them to push through the maintenance door. Shu gets some help from the other inmates, and everything is ready. Hush activates the hack, and the prisoners push hard through the maintenance door. Soon, the prison's AI system is back on, so Ray and his team have to do their best to get into the control room. Luke separates from the others when he accidentally falls into another floor. Shu runs backwards in order to find Luke, while Yusheng and Ray stay on their path to the control room. Yusheng opens the doors to the control room and Ray walks inside. He finds Kimbrel in there and admits he did a good job. However, there is always a weak point. In this case, it is Kimbrel himself. Meanwhile, Luke is cornered by some guards, but thankfully Trent appears behind them and guns them down. Shu and Yusheng make it out of the prison while Ray forces Kimbrel to fight him, just like the latter used to force his inmates. After a good fight, Ray snaps Kimbrel's neck and he reunites with Trent and Luke in the control room. Finally, a funder of the Hades projects tries to communicate with Kimbrel, but sees the good guys instead. Ray promises him that he will find him and go after him.